The theater buzzed with anticipation. Families filled the seats, the judges prepared their pens, and the stage lights glowed, waiting for the next performance. Then, almost timidly, a small figure stepped out from behind the curtain. He couldn't have been more than 10 or 11 years old. His shirt was faded from too many washes, his shorts hung loosely, and the crowd quickly noticed, he wasn't wearing shoes. His bare feet pressed against the polished stage floor, a sharp contrast to the glamour around him. A soft murmur rippled through the audience. The host bent down, microphone in hand, and asked gently, "What's your name?" The boy's voice was quiet but steady. "Miguel," he said. "And what will you be doing for us today?" Miguel lowered his eyes for a moment, then looked back up, a small spark of determination flickering through the shyness. I just want to sing." Something about those words silenced the room. The judges exchanged glances, sensing this moment was different. The audience leaned in, unsure of what to expect, but drawn in by the boy's quiet courage. Miguel stood barefoot, fragile yet unshaken, ready to show the world what he carried inside. The music began softly, a delicate melody floating through the theater. Miguel took a deep breath, his small chest rising and falling, and then, he sang. The first note stunned the crowd. It was pure, angelic, and hauntingly beautiful, the kind of voice that seemed to come from another world. Every ear in the theater tuned in, every whisper stilled. It wasn't just a child's voice, it carried depth, emotion, and a story far greater than his years. Miguel's eyes fluttered closed as though he was no longer standing in front of hundreds of people. He sang as if he were alone, pouring out his heart, his struggles, his dreams, into each word. His bare feet shifted slightly, grounding him, but his voice soared high above the lights, reaching the very last row of the theater. People leaned forward in their seats, their faces softening, jaws dropping. Even the judges, often so quick to criticize, sat frozen, their pens forgotten. Some held their breath, afraid even the slightest sound might break the spell. Miguel wasn't just singing a song, he was lifting every soul in the room. And for the first time that night, the audience knew they were witnessing something extraordinary. As Miguel's voice carried through the theater, something remarkable began to happen. The words of the song, gentle yet powerful, seemed to reach deep inside each listener, unlocking memories they had long buried. A father in the audience thought of his own son, working hard to chase a dream. A woman in the front row remembered her childhood, when she too had sung barefoot in church, before life's hardships stole away her voice. The judges, usually composed and critical, began to change. One leaned back, his eyes glistening, while another pressed her hand against her heart, visibly moved. The music wasn't just entertainment anymore, it was a mirror. Every note Miguel sang reflected their own struggles, their hopes, their pain, and their longing for something better. Tears began to flow silently across the theater. A man who had walked in with no expectations found himself wiping his eyes. A group of teenagers, who moments ago were whispering and laughing, now sat completely still, their expressions softened, their hearts touched. Miguel stood there, unaware of the storm of emotions he was stirring. He simply kept singing, pouring out his soul. With every note, the walls around people's hearts began to crumble. The final verse echoed through the hall, Miguel's voice trembling but soaring, like a fragile bird finding its wings. And then, it ended. For a split second, the theater was utterly silent. No one moved. No one breathed. The air hung heavy, as if the world itself paused to honor what had just happened. Then it came, an eruption. The entire audience rose to their feet in thunderous applause. Cheers, whistles, and cries filled the room as people clapped until their hands hurt. Some shouted his name, others simply wept openly, unable to hold back the emotions Miguel had unleashed. A woman rushed forward from the crowd, holding a pair of small shoes, and gently placed them on the edge of the stage. Another person held out flowers, while a man offered a jacket. One by one, people showered him with gifts, not out of pity, but out of love and gratitude. On the judges' panel, one leaned into the microphone, his voice breaking, "Miguel, you didn't just sing tonight. You healed us. You reminded us what music is truly for." Overwhelmed, Miguel covered his face with his small hands, whispering through tears, "Thank you, thank you." The barefoot boy had become a star. Backstage, Miguel sat with the shoes now on his feet. They were slightly too big, but to him, they felt like treasure. His eyes sparkled with disbelief as he held the flowers and small gifts pressed into his arms. For the first time in his young life, he wasn't invisible, he was seen, valued, and celebrated. The judges approached him, no longer just professionals behind a table but human beings touched by his courage. One knelt down and said softly, "You reminded us that greatness isn't about what we wear or what we have, it's about what we give." Miguel nodded, tears still fresh on his cheeks, his tiny hands clutching the shoes as if afraid they might vanish. The audience, now leaving the theater, carried something with them too. They walked out lighter, as if Miguel's voice had washed their souls. Strangers smiled at one another, some holding hands, others wiping away tears. For a brief moment, everyone in that room felt connected, not by wealth, status, or background, but by the pure power of humanity. Miguel had come barefoot, with nothing but his voice. He left with hope, love, and a future brighter than he had ever dreamed.